Hello everybody and welcome back to the Oasis Gardener channel. It's been a very long time since I've made a video, I know, shocking, yet not that surprising. Basically life just got in the way. I'm not going to make up a heap of excuses and everything, but I just kept delaying and delaying and delaying making videos. Mid-year exams happened. I went to Greece for 16 days, which was great. I'll probably talk about that in another video, but yeah, I really want to get back into making YouTube videos. It's something I enjoy. But everything's sort of calmed down a little bit. I just got a heap of tests at school out of the way now. They're done. Yeah, so I really want to start making videos again. So for my first video, unfortunately you're not going to be able to see my face. I know, how professional. Reason being, the indoor oasis is going under a massive revamp, and it's going to be lined and sealed and made into a little house pretty much as my meditation room. I'm very much into meditation. I am a Buddhist. I wanted somewhere I could do it away from the house, especially at this time of year where it rains quite a lot. So yeah, in here is under construction, so I'm not going to lift the camera, but yeah, so for my first episode I'm going to be doing a orchid repotting. Now today I just went down to Bunnings Warehouse with my dad. If you don't live in Australia, you probably don't have a clue what I'm talking about. Bunnings Warehouse is pretty much just in the name. It's a big warehouse full of everything from garden supplies to house supplies to construction. Yeah, pretty much everything. So we went there and I bought this lovely Cymbidium Orchid. It is a remake of an original orchid called Sarah Jean. It's identical, except it's supposed to be a lot stronger and faster growing and easier to grow. So I purchased that. It cost $10, which it's not cheap, but it's not terrible, and it was a nice orchid that I really wanted. So I got it, except the one thing I forgot to get was the usual orchid medium I use, which is a pine mulch. Reasonably chunky, but not too chunky, as Cymbidium orchids, they tend to prefer a slightly denser mix than a lot of other orchids, just because of where they grow in the wild. So anyway, I've had to improvise quite a lot, and I've made a very bizarre orchid mix, but I've done it before with another orchid and I know that it does work. It will eventually need to be changed, but Cymbidium orchids, they're pretty easy to grow and they're not too fussy. So without further ado, let's get planting. Okay, so while I was at Bunnings I also bought this reasonably cheap hanging basket. Now this will end up going in the conservatory, which I think I mentioned in my last video, which was like a year ago. But we just finished the conservatory a few months ago. It's really nice in there. We're growing quite a lot in there, from avocados to other orchids, and yeah, it's very nice in there. So this will end up in there, this orchid, and it should do very well in there because it's quite a bit warmer than it normally would be. Just flick a few times so I can actually see when I'm in frame or not. Sorry, I'm a bit rusty. I have not made a video in a while, clearly. So this orchid mix I've created consists of, I know it seems very odd, but polystyrene. Orchids don't tend to have issues with polystyrene because polystyrene doesn't really break down. It lasts quite a long time and it aerates the mix quite well. It's very similar to using perlite, which I've used before, and it does, yeah, it's a good substitute. And, you know, it's keeping polystyrene out of landfill, which is always a good thing. Now, the reason I added this as well, apart from to fill space in the pot, was because I also added bluestone aggregate, which is quite heavy, and I just wanted to balance it so the mix wouldn't be too heavy for the orchid. I also added this, which is on the outside of palm trees when the fronds, the dead fronds get cut off, that weird stumpy bit that gets left behind. Well, this from a place that I normally visit had it had like rotted off, so I took it and it's been sitting in the backyard for years, and I thought, why don't I smash that up and see if it will work for orchids. So that'd be interesting, but it looks like it should. Yeah, looks pretty good. And then I've also added just normal I suppose bush mulch in Australia. Yeah, it's just made up of shredded everything pretty much. Yeah, which should work fairly well. It's quite free draining, and for Cymbidium orchids it's really good. I wouldn't use this mix with a lot of other orchids that prefer free draining soil, but Cymbidium orchids tend to like slightly smaller, denser things, as I mentioned before. So this should be pretty good. So hopefully I have enough to fill this quite large hanging basket, which was only $4. Okay, so I suppose I will just put a decent layer in first. Also, another reason I didn't make a video in a while was because my laptop blew up, and I wound up having to get a new one, which did not have any editing software on it. So for a while I've been looking around, and then one of my friends recommended this new editing software, which, as I'm recording this, I haven't even downloaded yet, so I don't know if it'll work. Hopefully this video ends up on the internet somehow. I'm not quite sure how yet though, but you know, I suppose we all have to be optimists. Okay, so that's how the orchid will look. It's a lime green flower that hangs down in quite large masses. A lot of the time they flower in spring and summer for me, or even autumn. A few have flowered, but you can see the mix that it was put into is quite dense, but I've seen them be put into normal potting soil and do extremely well, so in this area, so it should be fine. Just slightly squeeze the pot. It's not in there too packed. It's quite a young plant by the looks of it. There we go. Ooh, very healthy roots. It's not pot bound or anything, although they do flower best when pot bound, but you can see the root tips in there. There's quite a few. Some of them look slightly burnt. Not sure what, perhaps from the frost where they were being grown, but they all seem to be doing quite well. I'm not going to disturb it or anything at this stage. Perhaps its next repot I'll remove any dead roots, but for now, I'm just going to check the level. Actually, that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more in, just to be sure. Now that is not bad. Okay, and then I'm just going to fill in around it. Let's see, hopefully I have enough. Try to centre it as much as possible. It also has a small new growth down here as well, which is very good. And apparently it's extremely fast growing compared to a lot of other Cymbidiums, so that's always nice. Which, for a beginner orchid grower such as myself, an easy, fast-growing orchid is probably preferred. I have ventured out into some harder-growing orchids, which have gone reasonably well, but I tend not to tempt fate, and I will just stick with the slightly easy ones for now. And now to top dress. More so a mulch type material with some more of the bluestone aggregate in it, less of the polystyrene as its top layer. I have lost some Cymbidiums I've grown, only because I'm still learning, and there's a few things I did that were more so trial and error, and things didn't quite work out, but at the moment I think I've figured out a suitable way of growing them for my area, which is just care a little less. That was my issue. I was kind of loving them to death, and yeah, lost a few for that reason. Not so much watering, but just repotting, removing any dead growth and stuff like that. But I have noticed that because a few friends of mine who don't even garden and have a tendency to kill things had Cymbidium orchids that were doing absolutely beautifully, and mine were looking particularly sad, so that's when I had the realisation that I just needed to let them do their thing a little bit more, and it seems to work.